Here we go. Hello and welcome to our Cyber Corner Chat series, How to Hack Proof Your Business, 15 Ways to Protect Your Business from a Cyber Attack. My name is Melanie Padron, your go-to cybersecurity girl. I'm also actually the Director of Business Development at IT Architects. We are a veteran-owned and operated MSP, a managed services provider with a security-first mindset. And we focus heavily on proactive cybersecurity to help businesses minimize and avoid damage from cyber attacks. And I'm joined again today by special guest expert Keith Bell, president of MTS IT Solutions. He's also an MSP. He's located up in York, Pennsylvania. Keith and I are both members of a global elite group of cybersecurity experts. And so we meet every week with our peers and our colleagues to brainstorm and share ideas and just kind of stay on top of what's happening in the industry. So Keith, welcome. And, thanks so much for joining me again. How's your week been?
That's great. It's going very well. Thanks for asking, Mel. My week, let's see here. We just finished up performing a cybersecurity risk assessment for a local government office. So been busy all week. Yeah, been busy all week preparing reports to present to them actually tomorrow morning. So
good luck on that. I know you'll knock it out of the park.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, other than that, just been trying to clean up a bunch of items that are on my plate that I need to get done before I head out for vacation on the 8th. So I'm excited for that. How about you? How's your week been?
Oh my goodness. Mine's been busy too. It always is, it seems like. So I've had 2 networking events this week with the Chamber and the Women Enhancing Business Group. And one of my boys is getting his driver's license next week. And then 2 of them go back to school the week after. So there's just a lot of loose ends to tie up as summer kind of comes to an end.
Absolutely.
All good stuff though. Yeah. Okay. So we've been going through this series, Hack Proof Your Business, 15 Ways to Protect Your Business from Cyber Attack. And this week we're on week 11 of 15 in this series that has actionable steps that businesses can take to protect themselves. We have the infographic already up on the screen. Look at me ahead of things here. So this week we are talking about mobile device security. So your iPhones, your iPads, your laptops, and just how providing clear guidelines for using these types of mobile devices can help the integrity of a business's data and therefore reduce their risk of damage from potential threats. But before I get too serious, I like to be a little cheesy and bring humor to these techie subjects, and that can mean only one thing. It's time for my cyber corny joke of the week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, this is a good one. All right, so why did the iPhone need glasses?
I don't know. Lay it on me.
Because it lost all its contacts and couldn't recognize a phishing scam without 20/20 vision.
Perfect.
I know. This is like my equivalent of a bad dad joke, but
I love them.
Yeah.
It's hard to make light of cybersecurity, so I appreciate you doing that.
I try. Well, and I'm not the techie one. You're the tech expert. I'm the, marketing business development person. So I try to just infuse a little bit of our personality into it.
Absolutely.
Anyhow. Okay. So the purpose of a mobile device security policy is to make sure that company data is secure when it's accessed or stored on mobile devices. And so if you could help us to understand why it's so important for a business to include mobile device security in their overall cyber strategy.
Yeah, sure. I think this is one area where a lot of companies kind of overlook the mobile device security. They don't really understand the risks that are involved there as well. Having a mobile device security policy is essential for businesses because mobile devices often store things and can access confidential company information like maybe email or SharePoint documents, stuff of that nature. All these things, they need to be secured against unauthorized access and breaches the same way we would be protecting our computers. An enforced policy helps lessen and identify the risks from potential threats like malware, phishing, unauthorized access, and which ultimately is going to reduce the possible data loss and financial damage overall.
Yeah. I agree. So back to me being the non-technical person, I always try to think in analogies. And so I imagine, like when I was researching this, I imagine a mobile device policy at a company similar to like safety rules at a construction site, right? So just like construction workers have to follow strict safety rules to protect themselves and the site from accidents, employees need to follow these mobile device security policies to protect confidential company information from unauthorized access and breaches, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig in a little bit. Can you give us an idea of like what elements might make up a strong mobile device policy? If we're helping the customer craft one, or if a business is crafting one of these, what kind of things should they include?
Well, this could be things like including requiring devices to have some sort of password protection on them, whether it be a 4-digit code they punch in, or some sort of biometric type fingerprint or a face reader.
Yep.
Having encryption on the devices to protect data in the event of being lost or stolen. Making sure that the devices have the latest security updates installed. Let's see here. We would only want to allow authorized personnel access to company data for mobile devices. One of the big things also is going to be only allowing approved applications to be installed and not downloading from untrusted sources.
Okay.
And of course, in the policy, we should also have that, we're immediately reporting lost or stolen devices to the IT department so that they can wipe or remotely lock, excuse me, my phone's on,
Okay.
or remotely lock the devices.
Yeah.
Here's something you may find interesting. So,
Okay.
and this is rather scary, honestly. There was recently 90 plus malicious apps found on the Google Play Store. And they found that there was 5.5 million downloads of these particular apps. These apps were discovered like over the last few months, and they act as decoys for malware. These apps are including like PDF readers, QR code scanners, file managers, stuff like that.
Wow.
So they're masking themselves as legit application, but really in the background, once they're installed, that malware is being used to exfiltrate banking credentials and financial information from a number of global financial apps that you can find out there. So, I mean, this is a perfect example of why we want to be able to block the ability for end users to just download and install any app that they choose.
Yeah. Wow, those are some really good points. Like for a whole other conversation almost about how you would recognize, like how would you identify and then avoid those? That's scary.
Well, the typical end user most likely is not going to know. It takes a team of experts who are kind of eating, sleeping, and breathing cybersecurity to know that these things are going on.
Yeah, those are some really good points. I know, we talk about this all the time. People are the biggest risk to a business, but on a positive note, they can also be the greatest line of defense when they're educated. So let's talk about what are some strategies that a company can use to make sure employees are actually following the rules and going through their security awareness training and they're following the rules. How can we make sure that happens?
Well, the best way to really have these things enforced will be what we call enrolling these devices into an MDM, or a mobile device manager platform.
Okay.
If we have these devices enrolled in a mobile device manager platform, we can enforce all these policies. So like I mentioned earlier about, password protection, encryption, only allowing approved apps to be installed, remotely locking and wiping devices. By enforcing these policies with an MDM, we're essentially taking and shifting a lot of that responsibility away from the end user and just strictly blocking controls to certain things, enforcing these controls and taking that responsibility away from the end user. But, of course, as always, we should always be, conducting the cyber awareness trainings and educate employees on the importance of mobile device security and just practicing safe online habits overall.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. We focus heavily on that security awareness training with people. Okay, so can you describe the process for responding to a mobile device security breach? Like, help us understand what a breach on one of these mobile devices might look like.
Well, it's going to be very similar to the same as, if one of your computers were compromised. If an end user is suspecting something suspicious, they should contact their IT team right away.
Sure.
And then from there, the IT team's going to hop on it. The security engineers should immediately isolate the affected device from the network to prevent any further compromise that may have already happened. And then the team's going to conduct a thorough investigation to determine the breach of the scope, maybe the source, and then take whatever corrective actions are necessary. Maybe updating security settings, resetting passwords, and it could boil down to possibly needing to wipe and restore the devices from backups.
Wow. Yeah, that is similar, but quite the process nonetheless. We always say it's cliche, an ounce of prevention is worth more than the cure. I know that cybersecurity can sometimes seem like a pain. Sometimes there are extra steps that we have to go through, and there's obviously a relatively small upfront cost to implement a solid program. But it's just so much easier to avoid loss than it is to recover from it. And though no cybersecurity can avoid 100% of attacks because they're so sophisticated and so fast and things are changing at such a rapid rate. But there's just no doubt that having measures in place to identify those threats early goes a long way in, like what we like to say, limiting that blast radius, which greatly reduces, financial damage too. So I'm just trying to think here. How feasible is it for a company to create and implement their own mobile device policy? Or how can MSPs help businesses with this? Because this is what we do. This is where we excel and what we specialize in. So how does a company decide? Do we try to do this ourselves and piecemeal it together, or do I turn to an MSP for help?
Well, obviously the best approach is hiring a professional to do this for you, to make sure it's properly configured and implemented and enforced, right?
Yeah.
But creating and rolling out a mobile device policy is doable for a company, at least on a basic level. It just takes some good planning, the right resources, and of course you're going to need the right expertise. They'll need to figure out what the specific needs are for the company, draft some policy guidelines about what users can and can't do. Yep. And then, of course, set up the right technology, which would be like the MDM we talked about. And of course, always just making sure the employees know the policies and are provided with the proper training.
That makes sense. I know for our clients, we do things like, assist in drafting policies that are tailored to that specific need and the risks at that business. So, we do training to educate the staff on those security best practices and just how important it is to follow the rules. And, of course, in the case of an actual cyber attack, we would provide that expert rapid response and help with the remediation.
It's a fun day for us.
Yes, I know. But this really is where I see the value and experience of partnering with an MSP making a big difference. This is our wheelhouse and where we excel, and which it allows the business to focus on its core objectives too, which is probably not cybersecurity related. So yeah, I love what we do.
It's keeps us on our toes, that's for sure.
It does. It's why we both have such busy weeks all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to transition over to our hack of the week, because this was a big one, whether you're in cybersecurity, it doesn't matter the industry. If you live on this planet, you probably heard about the CrowdStrike outage last week. It disrupted Microsoft systems worldwide. I believe I read it was 8.5 million computers in businesses of all kinds. We saw stuff on the news where airports and airlines were shut down, law enforcement agencies, 911 centers, doctors' offices, really every industry experienced that. What do they call it? That blue screen of death last Friday. And I really think that this global outages like this highlight our heavy dependency on just a few big tech companies. I actually heard this called the largest IT outage in history. What a mess. What a mess. So Keith, what's your take on the situation from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, a mess is definitely a way to describe this one. I think CrowdStrike themselves, MSPs around the world, internal IT teams, they're still actively, working this it's not even a breach. This update that was pushed out that crashed systems. It crashed the Windows OS. So I mean, so the issue's been identified and isolated, and a fix has been deployed. But this outage wreaked havoc everywhere, from airlines, banks, hospitals. I mean, as you mentioned, it was really a mess. And because of the way that this update crashed the Windows OS, the recovery options were manual, right? So said 8.5 million computers. That means 8.5 million computers had to have an individual technician sit down in front of them, each computer, to fix it. It's not like we could go and, put a script together for a fix and push it out to a group of computers and just fix them. It was a manual intervention to each computer, which is why it's taking so long to get a lot of these systems back online, just because of the resources of physical human beings to get to each system, right?
Yep.
So, and to make this whole situation even more burdensome, if you had your devices encrypted with like BitLocker or some other form of encryption, and your IT team didn't have the decryption keys properly stored and available, most likely you were having to wipe and reload those devices from scratch. And if you didn't have backups of those devices, all that data was lost on those machines. So it was really a mess, and it still really is affecting a lot of folks.
Yeah. I found it interesting that they were super quick to say this is not a cyber attack, but they warned that bad actors try to exploit events like this. Anytime that there's a vulnerability or a weak moment, even if it's not a cyber event, the bad guys are going to try to come in and take advantage of it. And so they were warning, and only, just recommending that you only communicate with CrowdStrike through their official channels. So, Keith, help us understand, what are some ways criminals will try to use this outage to trick people? And how can we lessen our chances of falling victim to, they're called social engineering scams, because they're tricking us into doing something, as humans, that we wouldn't normally do. So what are the criminals doing? What does that look like? What do we need to watch out for?
Well, most of the time what you're going to find is they're going to be calling up pretending to be like the IT team at your workplace and trying to trick you into giving up, your your access code, your passwords, maybe to try to steal money or to attempt to ransom your network, stuff like that. It's important to verify who people are, who they say they are. Maybe one way of verifying this is, sending a text code to the person that's on the phone, verifying they are who they say they are. I don't know if you remember, a few months ago there was an attack at MGM.
Oh yeah.
That was also a social engineering. What had happened there was, somebody called into MGM's help desk, pretending to be an employee of MGM and saying, hey, they needed their password reset for the user that they claimed to be internally at MGM. Well, the help desk reset the password, and the hackers were in, and it went downhill very fast after that. So if you work in a help desk or in IT, you need to be able to verify that the employee calling for help is actually the individual, and not a criminal try to take over access. Or for personal accounts, for personal home users and whatnot, a criminal may be calling you up asking for payment to fix or prevent this from happening in the future. If you get a call like that, obviously hang up immediately. Don't give them any of your information. Don't pay them anything, because nobody from CrowdStrike is going to be calling you to fix your system.
Yeah, those are great points. I'll add to them that we should all also remember that phone number, that caller ID, it can be spoofed too. Just because it says Microsoft or, work IT support or Keith Bell, that doesn't mean you can automatically trust and give your access and your passwords and codes, and certainly not money. My mom fell victim to a scam like that when back when Microsoft would pop up on her computer and said your computer is infected, call this number. She actually gave Microsoft, which AKA the bad guys, like $5,000 to fix her computer and never got it back. And that's like an elder scam. Like, I was so angry at the time because, when you take advantage of, an elderly population, I was just so infuriated. But
yeah, there's a lot of those targeting the elder. That's for sure. Yeah.
I know. All right. So anything else you want to add to this CrowdStrike discussion today?
Yeah, I mean, I think even though this wasn't a cyber attack, this really
Yeah.
brings to light to show just how important it is to have some sort of business continuity plan in place. Like knowing what to do in a situation like this can greatly minimize downtime, reduce financial loss, and all of these things sort of help maintain customer trust and business reputation, which at the end of the day are priceless for your organization.
Yeah, priceless is right. I wholeheartedly agree. Definitely. Well, as always, gosh, this has been such an enlightening conversation. Keith, thank you for joining me again this week as our
Thanks for having me.
expert on our cyber briefing. I hope everyone who's watching has found value in what we've discussed. If you have, please engage by liking, commenting, and sharing. This helps more people see the content we create, which means that more businesses and the people behind those businesses are safe. And don't wait for a breach to occur. If you have questions about mobile device security or a business continuity plan, or you need help getting a comprehensive cybersecurity solution in place, reach out and schedule a strategy session with Keith or myself today. Neither one of us charges for just an initial meeting to get you pointed in the right direction and a plan of action for going forward. So if you want to know if you're prepared, give us a shout. We want to help you stay one step ahead of the bad guys, right, Keith?
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of our mission, protecting all these small businesses one at a time.
That's right. All right, folks. Well, until next time, we'll see you on the safe side.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great week, Keith.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.